All right. I'm going to confirm we're live, just checking a couple places real quick here, but I am joined tonight with CK Kesterson, who is a fellow Michigan native, which is fun for me. so, CK, he lives in Michigan with his wife and two sons. His interests include reading, history, Michigan State basketball, and unfortunately, he's a long-suffering Lions fan. His biggest influences in his writing and beyond as Tolkien, Conwell, David Gremmel, and his goal is as an author is to write the things that he would want to have read when he was younger. So he's hoping to inspire readers the same way that he was. So he is joining us because he has recently released a book called Fortis, The Return of the Vulture King. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to CK to go ahead and do a quick pitch for this particular book that has just come out.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I wrote a book called Fortis. Um, it's a middle grade medieval fantasy adventure. Um, it's a concept I originally came up with for my sons. There was this thing I used to tell them, I still do, whenever they would hurt themselves or something was hard or tough or whatever was going on. I said, you need to be brave and tough and strong. And when I decided to write a book for them, I built it around those concepts. So what Fortis is these two brothers who are learning how to become knights, and it's all encompassed those words I said in the word Fortis, which is a Latin word that kind of means all those things. Um, Essentially, the premise of it is their father gets kidnapped by an ancient evil sorcerer, and they take it upon themselves to be the one to rescue him. And along the way, they have to use these concepts and lessons that he's taught them. And they encounter many perils and deadly foes, but also a lot of friends, just a lot of fun stuff and a lot of growth along the way. It's very much a story of perseverance and family, and I would say the age is it's like a 7 to 12 kind of age range, but I also think it's something that can be enjoyed as a whole family if you read it together too.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you. This is actually one that I had an ARC copy of and I have read, so I at least have more context than some of these interviews that I've done. So I'm interested in this one especially because you're doing something that I actually want to do at some point when I have space in my life
Yeah.
to take on another work in progress. But um, it seems like one thing I noticed when I was going and selling was that there were a lot of parents that were coming by and they were looking for books for their kids, especially young boys. And they're, my work is a little more advanced than what I would want to hand to like a 9-year-old boy for the most part. So
Right.
it's like I can't help you. But it seems I noticed at least that it seemed like there was definitely a demand from parents for this kind of story. So I was excited to see that you were taking this on and doing this. I'm curious as far as, you have your Heroes of Valhalla, which you've been working on. You have the first two books released for that. When did you come up with this idea or decide to sit down and actually write this? Did you finish? Was it during the drafting of those? Like after? What was the process?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember you actually had told me about the desire for a lot of middle grade in these events and stuff, and I was already formulating at that point. I don't know if I had started it yet. I may have at that point, but it was around that time. And it was originally intended to be slightly for a slightly younger audience.
Hmm.
But as the story got bigger and became more than what I anticipated, I was like, oh, this is actually for a little bit older age group. Um, so yeah, it's like I said, it's some concepts I've been working through with my two sons for quite a while now. They're 4 and 7, and essentially what I was like, I want to do something for them before they get too old. Um, and so I was like, all right, I got this large series I'm doing, but I can manage something smaller. to sneak in there. And it did end up being a lot more than I thought it would be. The story's way bigger. You know, we're authors, so like I already have like 7 other books planned in my head. It's like you just can't stop. And in this one, I ended up doing artwork and all that kind of stuff too. So it turned into something way bigger. But the results I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I think it definitely has that like classic adventure story feel. Um, the one thing I noticed and I liked about it is that the characters actually have an intact family. Like nobody's an orphan. That
Right.
seems to be like a very common trope. Like parents have died or like something, you know. And I think
But
that
we
you
don't know how it ends yet, right?
that's true. Like but as of now, like you're telling a
Yeah.
complete whole story that like,
Yeah.
hey, look, they're they were called to adventure as like a response to family, which is I would think a little unusual. Was that intentional or did it just happen?
I mean, for me, it's natural. Like, and I know for you too, it's like family. That's everything, right? So it's
Yeah.
um, didn't really want to do it a different way, right? This is a story about lessons that I've taught my kids that me and my wife have um, instilled into them over the years, and yeah, it's like I mean, it's kind of. I mean, the characters are my sons in this, right? Like with some slight variations, and we're in it too. And so it's like, yeah, it's about us, and that's how our family is. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So it that would have meant so you would have probably started drafting this summer then, if we're responding to when I might have mentioned that.
Yeah,
So
probably in the spring. Yeah, I
yeah.
probably had started the idea for it. Yeah.
Was this? Did you plot this out? Did you just kind of go like? How did you come up with the story idea?
Yeah. So it started from those core 3 words: brave, tough, strong. It's what I have on the back of the book. It's kind of
Mhm.
matured, so it's bravery, toughness, strength, and and I kind of for all my other writing, I'm a lot more meticulous. I have it all planned out well ahead of time. It's structured, and I know exactly where I'm going. With this, I intentionally did less world building. Everything kind of I let it come as it kind of flowed naturally with the story. Even the villain, I didn't know the villain when I set out to start writing this book, and it's one I discovered, and he ended up being a little darker and scarier and more powerful than I anticipated. But yeah, this one I'm doing the opposite of what I normally do. I'm letting the story build the world, and with subsequent books, I'm gonna as they have a more of a capacity for observation and growth and learning things within that world. You'll see more names of places, more names of people, more detailed maps, all those kind of things. This one I very much wanted to be entry level, simple, core concepts with other than maybe 1 or 2 characters. It is a fairly black and white story with good guys and bad guys, and I think that's important for kids. So I really wanted to get that across.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Especially when your target audience is younger. You don't have a lot of. You have to be judicious with your usage of space. Like you don't want to have like you don't want to end up with like 110,000 word novel necessarily for
Yeah.
a 9-year-old kid. So that makes sense to me as far as like keeping it lean. And I like I would say that this is because I've read a couple of your books at this point. Like the one thing that I've noticed about your writing style is that you're very like you're I don't want to say lean, but you're efficient. You're very efficient. Everything has to kind of earn its place in the story, and I figured that would serve you well in the younger audience space because
Yeah.
again, when you have a younger audience, you have to make sure you don't want it huge, dense, lots fancy terms to chase them
Yeah.
away from the story for good. Was there intentionality so as you're drafting it as far as like trying to keep the word choice simple and try and keep the sentences shorter? Like, were you actively paying attention to that to write in a different way than maybe you write some of your adult novels?
Yeah, especially when it came to how the kids would observe things and how they would talk to each other. That very much was simplified. And in fact, like I said, I started um, writing it slightly younger. I actually aged the characters up a little bit as I went. So at a certain point, I actually had to make it a little more mature because I had toned it back so much.
Yeah. Interesting. And you mentioned that like you didn't know the villain, he got a little darker than you anticipated.
Yeah.
Uh, as it went on. That's kind of a fun like discovery writing type of thing to
Which is not
happen.
how I am. Like it's just not. It actually made me a little bit uncomfortable to let that process unfold because I'm like, I got to know exactly what this is heading towards and what I'm doing, and I kind of, I guess, let myself be a little bit vulnerable and let the story unfold as it did. So
I think it worked pretty. I mean, I enjoyed the story. I'm gonna have a paperback sent so that I can sit down with my kids and enjoy the art drawings and stuff within
awesome.
it,
Yeah.
not just on my phone, which is not
Yeah.
the ideal place to read with your children.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so okay, so you drafted this story. Tell me about I don't know much about your process in general as far as okay, so you got these illustrations, you ended up doing the cover art, like there was more
Mhm.
involved, I imagine, in this after the actual text is written that I would love to hear more about for how this came together.
Yeah. So I had to learn a great deal of patience with releasing this one because it's not a lot of words. It's under 25,000. The actual writing of it didn't really take that long. Like, I mean, compared to my other books.
Hmm.
Um, so I commissioned some artwork. And the artist actually, she got into a car accident partway through, and it delayed things considerably. And
Yeah.
she's okay, and everything's good, and that's great. Yeah. And but through this, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna let this unfold how it will. If I don't get it out before Christmas, so be it. I wanted to release it like sometime in October, and I just knew it wasn't going to happen, and so I that was a lot of patience. I'm pretty, I don't know, I'm always quick. I want to move on to the next thing. I want as soon as it's done, I want to publish it. So that was actually kind of difficult for me. Um, my last book, the second book in my Heroes of Valhalla series. I mean, I got that done. That's 115,000 words. I got that finished in less than a year and published. And so, yeah, this one felt like, I don't know, it just felt like I could have been quite a bit more productive, but at the same time, this was important and I didn't want to rush it out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, you want a polished product, uh,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think it turned out well. So you had the artist. I'm curious, do you self edit? Do you work with an editor? How do you what do you do with that?
Yeah. And so that's another one of the really cool things. My dad is actually my editor. Um,
There.
yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. He's super smart dude, super meticulous. He's done a great job. And yeah, I mean, it's been such a blessing. Um, he actually is the one who came up with the name Fortis.
Okay.
Because early on, like I said, it was written for younger kids, and I was just gonna call it Brave and Tough and Strong, like this very like yeah, it's very like a almost a 5-year-old kind of title, right? And he'd studied Latin and all this stuff. He's like, there's a word that encompasses all of this, and I think that's what you should use to tie these concepts together. And so yeah, I was like, absolutely, hey, let's do it, and didn't question it. We moved forward with it. And yeah, it's been cool. So it's like my dad's my editor. I wrote this. It's for his grandkids, and it's just a total family affair. And I think that's kind of special. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And very helpful to have the in-house help there for sure. That definitely
yeah,
speeds things up too.
oh yeah,
Maybe sometimes, I don't know. uh,
he's retired, so sometimes I got to get after him a little bit. But no, he does a great job, and he catches all the mistakes I've made every single time I've written a book, so he gets them.
Excellent. All right. So you mentioned that you're thinking that there's more to the story. It definitely, like, it ended, it's a complete story, but it ended with
Yeah.
certainly some opportunity there for follow-ons. So you have that in your mind. Are you formulating or plotting or planning? You mentioned, oh, I could come up with 7 more books for this.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's still kind of fairly loose, but I feel like I introduced a lot of interesting characters that could really be developed in this book, whether it's the elf character, the dwarf character, the wizard, all your kind of your basic things, even the kind of wayward knight character early on. And so there's a lot of stuff like that to play with, and I have a lot of ideas with that. Um, there is one story. I don't know if it'll be a full book or just kind of like a shorter story, but I plan on doing a kind of Home Alone concept in a castle. And I promised, I promised all the nieces and nephews that I would have all of them in it too. So that'll be in there somehow. I don't have a timeline for anything yet. I think I need to finish my Norse series first, but yeah, there's quite a bit that I can do still. So
And I mean, it has, I mean, what kid's not gonna like, it has the good beast, this big dog
that's
thing.
right. Yeah,
And I
yeah, and
loved,
with,
I actually loved your take on the dwarfs with the, I don't want to spoiler everybody, but like
it's
the
all right. Yeah,
fireworks and stuff. It's fun.
yeah, yeah. I had a lot of fun with them. The name that I gave them was something that me and my dad like went back and forth on a bunch. He's like, it's kind of out of place in a medieval world, and I'm like, no, I can break down the word and its origin and stuff. And we went back and forth, and finally we're like, hey, it's for kids, and it sounds cool and it's fun and they're cool characters. So yeah,
I mean, Lord of the Rings had fireworks. Come on.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so from here, now you have this in your offering for sale. So I'm curious as
Mm-hmm.
far as your approach or what you see coming up as far as getting yourself out there, getting your work out there. Um, what have you done so far? That's I like to get an idea from different authors, like what they've done that seems to work to get, themselves
Yeah,
known, especially in the indie space. It's competitive and hard to,
yeah,
get yourself seen sometimes.
yeah. I mean, X has been an awesome community of people. I mean, that's how we met, and a ton of other people. Um, but I feel like that has a limit. Like, we're not going to all buy every single book from each other, and it's just
Yeah.
it's tough. We're all doing the same thing, and it's mostly an author ecosystem there, with some reviewers and stuff. I mean, there's been really cool opportunities that I've gotten because of that. Um, but also the algorithm on X has just been like, I used to get like so much more engagement and views and like organic reach and stuff, and then lately it's like it's just been really bad. And it's not just X. I mean, I'll post on Instagram sometimes. And it's like nothing. It's like just into
Yeah.
the void, you know. Um, so this year I haven't really done much of this yet, but I'm going to do a more of an in-person approach. I'm going to try to get in more local bookstores, try to go to more events, expand that way, really do more of like the local author thing. Because so far I've just kind of been on the internet, so to speak, and I haven't really tried that angle of it, and I think that'll be nice. I think I have enough. I have enough books out now that I well, it's not like I'm just going there with 100-page book
Yeah.
and trying to, yeah, so I think I'm going to try that. With this latest book, I have, so we homeschool our kids. So a lot of the kids in their homeschool group, their parents bought the book, and a lot more like family and things like that. Like, so this book has been nice in that way, because the Norse stuff it's definitely what I wanted to write, and I love it, and it's awesome. But it's first of all, there's no like easy genre that it falls into: historical
Yeah.
fiction, fantasy. It's not really any of those things. and it's kind of like it doesn't fit any one market. It's kind of hard to sell in some ways. So having this book is going to be nice, and going to in-person events, having everywhere from kids book to adult book, I think that's going to help quite a bit.
Yeah, I can imagine that expansion of just offerings. Like I said, I noticed a lot that parents were like, oh, especially like artsy or like I feel like the interesting thing I've observed is like the covers, especially like when parents see a cover that is like a scene, they tend to immediately assume it's a child's book. And I think it's probably because so many of the modern traditionally published books are very, I don't want to say it, like kind of austere in their cover design. It's like very
Yeah,
simple, like a sword or something. So I've
yeah,
noticed that like they'll see like, oh, it's like a scene with a dragon on it, so it must be for my 5-year-old. I'm like, no, 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 this isn't Wings of
I
Fire.
wouldn't do that.
Like, but it's interesting just to notice some of that. Um, but yeah, I think I definitely approve that strategy. I've had a lot of success in person events selling. It's definitely fun to get out there and actually talk to people and to have, especially if you become regular somewhere, that they start to come back and like you can, oh, I'm going to buy the second book, or
Yeah.
oh, when's your next one coming out? So there's a little more personal stuff going on. So when I'm curious, I'll dig a little bit back beyond this book. I'm curious, when did you start writing? So your first book, when did you kind of dig
So
into
I
that?
put yeah. So I published it my first book a year and a half ago, I think. Um, yeah. So yeah, I started writing it. Let's see. It's too much math. All right, I'll just tell the story. I'll tell the story a little bit. I've wanted to write for, since I was in middle school, through high school into my early adulthood. And I wrote here and there bits and pieces. Never really stuck with any single thing. Um, but then I turned 29 and had a bit of a midlife crisis. And I basically said, like, hey, am I going to do this or am I not? So I was like, I'm going to try to have something accomplished before I turn 30. Um, so that whole year, and I mean, it's changed a lot since then, but like that, it took me a whole year to write that first draft of Heroes of Valhalla, which it ended up being like 85,000 words. And then I revised it and it ended up being over 130,000 words. Um, so I just turned 33. So I guess I've been at it for, I think, exactly like 4 years now. I started this process with these books. So
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I love to. Well, you can one, folks, it's never too late to start. So chase your dream, and two, like yeah, that's fun. Like I like that you went up in your draft. A
yeah,
lot of people are tend to be the
everyone you hear like is
overwriters.
cutting
Yeah,
stuff. Like you're saying, my stuff's kind of like, yeah, my first drafts are even more like just straightforward like that.
very
So
efficient.
it's just kind of how I am. I don't do a lot of the fluff. I don't know. I probably could use a little more, but it's just not necessarily my style.
Yeah, I don't think everybody needs to be the same, and I enjoy the book. Like it moves you through. Like you're moving along. There's no time wasted.
Yeah,
So world building wise, again, you mentioned that with Fortis here that the approach was to keep it pretty lean, at least initially. And you mentioned with Heroes of Valhalla, you did a lot more work to like flesh it out and build the bones. Um, that world, like the idea of the Norse mythology, their kind of made man is an interesting one to me. Uh, Definitely, yeah, I can see what you're saying with the genre not quite being exactly able to
yeah,
pin that down. Um, but it's certainly it's popular. Like a lot of that Norse stuff is very popular, or was
yeah,
at least popular. So it seems like it should have a market if you can figure out how to spin it.
yeah, yeah. It's just like, I mean, it's not exactly fantasy. Like I'm very much, other than some prophecy and things like that, which is that real? Is it not? It's historical fiction other than that, but it's in a
Yeah.
secondary world. It's just tough. I mean, you got a lot of the really popular Norse stuff right now is like fantasy Norse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just about finding the wording, and I'm just very like I like being pretty specific about what I'm presenting to people too, and it's like it's oh, it's the gods, but they have no magic, and all the animals aren't animals. It's like it just sounds like all the exciting stuff taken out of it, but it's a Viking book, it's
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm still learning as far as that goes.
That's fun. All right. So what's next for you? I saw you put the poll out on X to ask
Yeah,
what was next for you. Did you get the results?
people, yeah, yeah. I mean, there wasn't that many people that voted, but it is funny. It's like, do I do book 3 in a series? Do I do book 2 in my kid series? Do I do a novella in my existing series? Or should I start something brand new? And everyone's like, yeah, do the brand new fantasy book. Because, right. I mean, everybody wants fantasy, which is cool. Like, I mean, I have some massive ideas for stuff like that. I wanted to do the novella for the Norse stories next because it tells an important story in between these books. But I think the best move forward would be to finish book 3, which would give me a completed series. I think that's going to help for marketing. I think it's going to help give me clarity for what projects to move on with after that. And I think it'll just be a good, like, it's like, oh, I accomplished that. I wrote a whole series. So I think that's what I'm going to spend this next year doing is writing that third book, which is going to be like, I mean, there's so much that has to happen in there. But yeah, despite the results, I'm not gonna listen to the people, unfortunately.
The people
But it
don't
was
do their
fun.
will. Yeah, that's. I did vote for the third book because I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
I would agree. Like I noticed, like, because I have right now, I'm working on book 2 for my second series, but like if I go to an event and I have the complete series next to the one that's incomplete, it's a hard sell to get people to want the one that's incomplete.
So you have
Like,
noticed a difference with that?
yeah, like they'll buy the whole set of the whole book,
Okay. Yeah.
but
No, that is cool. That's yeah.
they're a little more hesitant if they're like, oh, is it still it's still in progress?
You
When
hear
will
it
it
all the
be?
time. People don't want to start a series unless it's finished. You don't really know if it's true, but yeah, I mean, I think it is true. So
I think there's definitely some truth to it. It's like I think George burned us all. It's all
yeah,
his
I
fault.
mean, it's unfortunately, yeah. I mean, he's doing fine, but yeah.
Yeah, he is. Him and his like 3 or 4 unfinished series, just
Yeah.
smoldering away.
You get away with it if you get the success, but it's like I want to write these novellas and stuff within that world, but it's like, okay, like legitimately how many people are calling for something like that? And it's like I think to do that, you have to build a big base of fans and support. So if I have that whole series out there and I see it growing and expanding, maybe that'll convince me to write some shorter stuff within that world too.
No, I will say that I have noticed a lot of people have success or recently seem to have success with novellas. Like
Yeah.
the whole concept of a book that you can kind of sit down and finish seems to have a lot of appeal to folks. So I think there's definite
I think so.
benefit or bonus to invest in that kind of thing and have it. I think the tricky part is like making it stand alone enough, even if it's in like that world that it like can appeal or act as like a intro or on ramp as well as
Yeah.
not necessarily just like an in between.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a short story as well, and it's a prequel to the series. It's super short though; it's only like 10,000 words, and it's not even big enough for the spine on there. So, but this is one that people can get for free the ebook version if they sign up for my newsletter, which is Kesterson author.substack.com. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's too short to really be a true test. Um, but I do feel like Fortis kind of almost meets that too.
Yeah.
Um, it's roughly 100 pages. Even for a kid, they're gonna move through it pretty quickly. Actually, my son's been reading my proof copy, so it's already like well worn, and it's cool. I mean, I love it. And he's a little
Well,
over
yeah, he's
halfway through that. So
chunking around like there. Yeah.
yeah, I think if he really put his mind to it, he'd finish it in a day or two. Um, so yeah, I mean, it is shorter content, but at the same time, that's not really going to appeal to adults in the same way. But
No, yeah, for sure. It's definitely. I mean, it's a good story. I don't discourage anybody from checking it out, especially if you're a parent
yeah,
and you're looking to see if you can find, stories for your kids that they might enjoy. That no harm there. But yeah, it's not quite the same thing as like some of the novellas of some of the folks that I've had on here that released
hmm
books that were, you know, smaller, adult oriented uh,
yeah,
books.
it's something I'll explore. I definitely want to. I have the stories in my head, but again, it's like it ain't cheap publishing. I mean, everything is a calculation. Unfortunately, but
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I feel that. All right. So I had a question in my head and then it just disappeared. That's what happens, I guess. Wow.
I have a question for you if it helps you
Yes,
remember in
you
the
can ask
meantime.
a question.
All right.
Sure. Give me
Yeah, I'm
the.
just curious. Like, so it's man, I like went back and forth. I'm like, what age is this book for? And I'm just curious, like after reading it, like what you think is the ideal age for a book like this.
So I would say like that pre-teen, the tween. So from that 9 to 12, I think you're right there with
Okay.
kind of the age group. So my oldest son is 8, and I think like he would definitely probably enjoy it. I think maybe my younger son's a little on the younger side, but I think like about to 12, I think maybe you're too young.
Yeah, I couldn't justify saying
Yeah.
older than 12. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm there's people who will like it, but it's just not like
Yeah, like to me, I would say like 9, 10 is the sweet spot there for that for
okay.
a story for boys.
Well, good.
Just
Mission accomplished, I guess. So that's good to hear.
yeah, I mean, and that's a great time to get kids into reading. It seems like
Yeah.
they don't have an. It's hard when they're like, okay, like anything coming out. The thing I've noticed, this is my rant, but it's like a lot of the stories, there just aren't that many that are tailored towards a young boy audience, and it's like,
hmm
well, boys reading.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, you hear it all the time, like the stuff in stores and stuff catered to women, and and it's the stuff I read is definitely catered towards boys. I mean, but it's also kind of what I know, and it's I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is a very male heavy kind of book, but that's who I want to
it's
inspire to get into
it's
it. I mean,
it's perfect. I mean, I am the mother of 2 boys, so I fully approve this approach. I'm trying to get them into, wanting to read, which means wanting to like enjoying stories.
yeah, yeah,
So, and you can only go back so like there are a lot of wonderful good classic stories that you can expose them to, but to some degree it's like it's cool to have like something new coming out, to not just be like, okay, well the only thing you can read are the Hobbits and like
yeah,
like the Hardy Boys, and let's bring them into something more modern, at least a
yeah.
modern interpretation of stories.
Right, and that's another thing I kind of want to do with the story. It's like it's not going to be like a cartoon show where everything resets all the time. I'm going to age the characters as we go, and hopefully into like early adulthood. By the time I'm like do everything, I don't know how many books that'd be, but I'm very much interested in letting people grow with the story too.
Yeah, that was going to be a question that I was going to ask, because you mentioned doing several of these, and obviously it takes time to get the book out. So if you can get people in the audience, I was wondering if you were thinking of like aging it up and then maybe making it a little more mature as time went on.
I think so. I don't know to what extent, but to some degree, yeah, that'll be the case. Especially with this further exploring of their concept of like knighthood and what that's going to look like in their lives and stuff too. So
Totally interesting. So I guess, you know, when your sons were an inspiration as far as wanting to write something for them, you talk about these values that you're trying to include into the story. So how do you feel when you look at it? Like, do you feel like you've mission accomplished as far as gotten a story that really encompasses those values?
I do think so, and I think without slapping anyone in the face with it too, I also like am instilling some things that are deeper than what just the words you read on the page. I think I'm getting at some underlying like core Christian concepts too in there. Even the character of Adelbard, they hint at like his necklace several times and stuff. And um, but yeah, I guess I can get into that a little bit. So I love the idea in fantasy of like, because there's so much going on. It's like, how do you explain magic? How do you explain some of the things going on in there? And also like have like, usually it just means you're devoid of Christianity. Um, and I get it. I mean, not every story needs to have that exactly. But I like the idea of it being a pre-incarnate world. So it's just like all this is going on, but hey, like Jesus actually just hasn't come yet. That kind of idea. So they don't really know about it, and so they have these ideas about the right things in the world, but they're kind of like stumbling through it. So Adelbard, he hints at like what's to come and what the true meaning of a knight is, and all these things. And so I think without ever having to use the word Christianity or anything, even like approaching it, I think that message is going to be like, oh, it's like a knight is somebody who takes care of others and sacrifices for them and shows grace and all these different things. And it's just going to be like, oh, that's how you're supposed to act towards people. And like, also that happens to be a deep Christian concept and something that I definitely believe in my own life. And I think it's like, you see the character of kind of the knight that's kind of let those ideas go, and he's kind of greedy and he's kind of cowardly and all these things. And it's like the character, like a 10-year-old character within the book, he's like, well, that's not right, is it? Like, and so I hope subtly that is instilled in people.
Yeah, that's great. I think that, moral storytelling is something, especially with children, that's important. And, we could use a little more like C.S. Lewis type tales for parents that are looking for that, especially. And, adventure story, it's hard because, you don't want to end up in the Hallmark Channel problem, or, whatever the where it's like there's just like this idea of what Christian literature is it's very just beat them over the head, kind of.
Yeah, this isn't like Adventures
sermon.
in Odyssey or anything
Yeah,
like that.
like
It's like
you want
there's
to
nothing so
have something
blatant.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still have the framework and the messaging there. I think that's great. All right. So with that, I would love for you to have an opportunity to read a little bit from your story, if you feel so inclined.
Yeah.
Give people a taste of what they would be picking up if they were to get this book.
Yeah, I was thinking about like, okay, what part of the book do I want to read? Because some of the exciting stuff is later, and then some of like the lessons are early on. But I feel like in isolation, it might sound kind of preachy. But in the essence of what's going on, it totally makes sense. So I started. So chapter 3. And it's not a huge portion, but chapter 3, the Kestrel.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the introduction to how the adventure begins, and introduces some different things. So I'll start with that. When do you think father will be back? Asked Tomas for the 100th time. I don't know, said Lucian, looking up with concern at the warriors on the wall. Quit asking. He was worried. It was not like his father to not at least send a messenger back. If the raiders attack our castle, I will stick them full of arrows, boasted Tomas. Your bow is a toy, said Lucian irritably. He was hot and not in the mood for childish things. They will just laugh at you. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and out of nowhere gray clouds rolled in. It was soon dark, and rain poured into the courtyard. The boy sat in the doorway, looking out and feeling gloomy. Lucian began to read a book about the history of the kingdom, as Tomas tossed a ball against the doorpost. What's that in the sky? Asked Tomas, squinting through the downpour. It looks like some birds are fighting. I don't know, said Lucian, not bothering to look up. His brother had grown fond of making up stories. He had started to ignore them. The smaller bird has something in its talon, said Tomas. Something metal. I saw it glimmer. This got Lucian's attention. He looked up and saw that there were indeed 3 birds flying high above the castle. Several months prior, he had read a book that had belonged to his grandfather about birds, so he attempted to identify them. The 2 larger birds were definitely carrion eaters of some kind, but they didn't match any description he had read. They were vulture-like in appearance, but larger and moved much quicker than any scavenger birds he had ever seen. They seemed to be pursuing a smaller bird he recognized as a kestrel. Something metallic dangled from its talons. Normally, a kestrel would be much faster, but it appeared to have an injured wing and was having a hard time getting away from the larger birds. It dropped it dropped lower, just barely passing over top of the castle walls. As it darted over their heads, it dropped the metallic object into the courtyard. It landed in a wagon full of loose hay. The kestrel gained speed after dropping the item. It zigzagged off towards the forest with the 2 larger birds not far behind, and soon they all passed out of sight. That was strange, said Lucian. Come on, said Tomas. It dropped something in the wagon. Careful, said Lucian. We don't know what it could be. But his little brother did not listen and was already in the wagon digging around for the lost item. Lucian, too, was curious and soon overcame his caution and joined his brother in the rain. They worked their hands through the now wet hay, but could find nothing. At last Lucian felt cold metal in his hand. He pulled out a metal chain, on the end of which was a pendant with a golden eagle emblazoned on it. It's father's pendant, said Lucian as the rain poured down his face. A feeling of dread settled over him. The one he always keeps around his neck. How did the bird get it? Asked Tomas, grabbing it from his brother. I don't know, said Lucian, but I think it means that father is in trouble. They were both thinking the same thing. The Vulture King. Those birds must have belonged to the sorcerer, said Lucian. We have to save him, said Tomas. Let's tell Sir Roland. No, said Lucian. They have enough to worry about with the raiders nearby. We don't want to burden Mother. We'll have to do something, said Tomas, walking toward the gate. Wait, said Lucian, a little too forcefully. Are you scared? Asked Tomas. You probably don't want to get in trouble, but we need to help Father. It's not that, said Lucian. It's just that if we're going to do this, then we need to be smart about it. So that ends the chapter, and I got a little bit of artwork in there. And that sets the stage for the adventure that is the rest of the book.
Love it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And then with that, congratulations for this book coming out. I think it's a great achievement to get especially young people's literature out there fresh with good values. It's a good story. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Where can people find you? So if they want to follow you, get to know you.
Yeah, I guess my main hub would be my Substack, ckkestersonauthor.substack.com. I spend most of my time on X, and that's just under CK Kesterson Author. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, less frequently, but yeah, those would be the main places to find me. And my books, I don't know if you asked that, but my books are all available on Amazon. And you can get this for free if you sign up for my newsletter.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, CK, for coming. And it was a pleasure to host you. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We're going to end the stream.